Hello everyone, this is Miss Olamit. I am here to deliver the presentation that normally would have been a part of our IB AP night, but we're now doing virtually. First, I want to say that I hope you are all healthy with your families and staying as sane as possible during these crazy times. We are here for you at Del Mar. We're doing the best we can to make this experience as seamless as possible. If you need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out through email would be the best way to reach me. So for this presentation, you're going to need a piece of binder paper and a pen or a pencil, or I guess you could do it digitally, that's fine too, but you're going to need to be writing some things down. So please make sure you have that. And as I'm going through this, if I go through a certain activity or portion of the presentation too quickly, feel free to pause. You can always go back and watch this a second time if you need to. All right, let's get started. So the goal of this presentation is to really make sure that all of you are selecting the appropriate number of IB or AP courses based on everything that is going on in your lives, both inside and outside of school. So many of our students are intellectually capable of taking all of our IB classes, but the issue here is not to think about all of the IB or AP classes separately and think about them one at a time, but to think about the number that you're choosing to take holistically with everything else you've got going on in your life. So work, extracurriculars, family responsibilities. That's really kind of the goal of this presentation. And keeping in mind that we want all of you to not only be pushing yourselves academically, but also maintaining a healthy and happy and well-balanced life inside and outside of school. Some other important things to keep in mind. We have pretty dramatically changed the drop date for IB and AP classes because of everything that's going on with the coronavirus situation. Previously, the drop date was Friday, April 3rd before spring break, but now we've extended it almost a month. So you have until May 1st to let us know if you want to change your mind about an IB or AP class that you have signed up for. I also just want to remind you all that there's no deadline to add an IB or AP class before next year. So if you decide you want to add one, you can do that at any time. If you decide that you do want to make any changes to your schedules, you can either contact your guidance counselors or you can email me and we can make those changes for you. And lastly, I just want to remind everyone that IB courses are rigorous. They do require a commitment of time outside of school through homework and also studying. So if you do sign up for IB and AP classes, you do need to keep that in mind. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to be going through this activity called the time wheel. We got this activity from Challenge Success, which is an organization that we're affiliated with out of Stanford's Graduate School of Education. You can either draw this time wheel on a piece of binder paper, but you could also just record the information in a more linear fashion. But basically what we're going to be looking at are all the different aspects of your life and how you're currently spending your time, and if you have time to fit in all of the IB and AP classes that you want to take. All right, so the first chunk of time that we're going to be talking about is school. Obviously, right now you're not spending a lot of time in school, but things will get back to normal. And when they do, you need to make sure that you're accounting for those hours in your day. So if you take 6 periods in a day, then you are essentially at school for about 6 hours. If you take 7 periods, then you are at school for about 7 hours. So go ahead and record school as one of your sections and the number of hours that you will be on campus next year. Okay, the next category is homework. We work really hard at Del Mar to make sure that you're not assigned excessive amounts of homework or homework that is irrelevant, especially in IB and AP classes. But there is homework that needs to be done. Most of our IB diploma candidates report back to us that they spend between 2.5 to 3 hours a night on homework. That's not necessarily the case for every single student, and that's not necessarily the case for every single night of the school year. There might be some nights where you have less, and there might be some nights where you have more. It's really going to depend on the time of year. There is a certain time when internal assessments are due for IB classes, and that tends to be, a time where homework will ramp up. And then there's other times of year where things kind of mellow out a little bit. Another thing to keep in mind regarding homework is how efficient are you when you're doing your homework? I have so many students that tell me that the biggest thing they learn from the beginning of their high school career to the end is how to do homework without their phones. So many times students have their phones next to them while they're working, and the constant distractions and disruptions from text messages or other notifications from other apps is constantly drawing their attention and focus away, which can often make what would normally be a 2-hour homework session into a 4-hour homework session. So really think about how much time do you spend just doing homework, like focused on that work and not being distracted by other things. All right, extracurricular activities. Some of you have many, 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 and some of you don't have quite as much. I'd like you to think about your busiest time of year and how many hours you spend. So, for example, if you play a winter sport, but not a fall sport, think about your schedule during winter. If you do one of the spring productions, think about what your life is like during those spring productions. If you're in marching band, that typically is extremely busy during the fall. So think about your busiest time of year and calculate how many hours a day are you doing extracurricular activities. So activities outside of school. Go ahead and write that down. All right, the next one is paid work. Paid work is great. I highly encourage students to work, but it's also really important that you have a good balance between work and school, and that work hopefully doesn't have to take up so much time that it starts to hinder your academic performance. Some of our students really need to work to help support their families, and they don't have a lot of choice. But if you do have some choice, you want to make sure that your hours of work are not taking away from your performance in school. A couple other things about work. There are laws around the amount of hours that students can legally work during a school day and on the weekends. On a school day, students should not be working more than 4-hour shifts, and on weekends, you shouldn't be working more than 8. If your place of employment has you working longer shifts than that, then they are out of compliance with the law. So just something to keep in mind. If you feel like you're working too much and your family can financially afford for you to cut back on your hours, then I think that would be a really smart thing to do. Chores. Yeah, chores. Those are a thing. You should have them. You should do them. You should love them. Chores are really, really important. You all are going to be adults in the real world very shortly. Some of you may be going off to college and living with roommates, and those people will like you a lot more if you know how to take care of your space. You can keep it clean if you know how to do dishes, do laundry, all those kinds of things. Families, parents, guardians, please make sure your students do have chores and that they don't use school as an excuse to get out of them. I have teenagers and younger kids, and I've heard them say, "Oh, I have a huge test tomorrow. I don't have time to do the dishes." Yeah, you do. Sorry, but the dishes take about 10 minutes. You're going to do them. Please, please, please make sure that students have chores and that they're consistent in their day, daily, but also, bigger chores that they do maybe on the weekends, monthly, whatever makes sense. Okay, multimedia, huge one. So many students are spending huge, huge, huge amounts of time with multimedia. So think about all of it. How much time are you spending in a day on your phone, watching Netflix, recording TikTok videos? Probably by the time I say this, that's not even a thing anymore. Playing video games. How many hours a day are you doing that? This is typically one of the categories that students realize they could cut back on quite a bit to make more room in their schedule for schoolwork, but that's a choice that students have to make. So spend some time calculating this, be honest, go ahead and write it down. Okay, free time is really important, and this one does get a little bit tricky because oftentimes the free time that students have, they want to spend using multimedia or some type of digital technology, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I know I like to veg out on a screen every once in a while, but it's also important that you have free time that's just downtime, not in front of a screen. It could be reading a book, going on a walk, exercising, just kind of sitting and thinking. It's really important at this time in your lives to get to ponder big questions like, what do I see for myself in the future? What do I want to do with my life? You don't have to have answers. That's a lot of pressure, but it's important to have downtime to think about that kind of stuff. It doesn't have to be for hours and hours each day, but 15 or 20 minutes in a day where you have downtime is really important. So think about whether or not you have it, and how much time you spend doing that at the moment. The next one is family time. Family time is also so important and can be extremely hard to schedule. If you have a big family, it's especially hard. Or if you have, teenagers who are working, parents who are working, it can be really hard to get a whole family together, which it's kind of depressing, but it's also the reality of our world. But it's recommended that parents, students, kids, everyone in a family spend at least 25 minutes a day together at some point. That can actually be hard to do. This time doesn't need to be during the, quote unquote, traditional, like sit down and have a family dinner together. I know in my house that hardly ever happens during the regular school year because of work, practices, all kinds of things like that. But you can get creative. So for example, the mornings when everybody's getting ready, that can be family time. If you all are driving together somewhere, like schlepping kids to different events, that can count as family time. Even if you can't do it daily, if you can really schedule a couple, 2, 3, 4 nights or afternoons sometime in a week where you all are together and enjoying each other's company, that would be great. Currently, right now, you're all probably extremely sick of each other and would like much less family time. But we're talking about during a normal school year. So how much time do you all spend together when you're not experiencing a shelter in place? And then the last one, sleep. Super important. And often completely overlooked and neglected, especially in our young people's lives. For sleep, just a quick guess. How many hours do you think a high school student needs each night? How many hours do you think a middle school student needs each night? Here you go. High schoolers, it's recommended that you're getting between 8 and 10 hours of sleep a night. Middle schoolers, between 10 and 11. Most students I talk to are not getting enough sleep. It also needs to be uninterrupted sleep and consistent on a nightly basis. So getting 5 hours of sleep during the weekdays and then binge sleeping like all day Saturday, all day Sunday is not healthy. So you need to think about that. It can be hard, especially like I said, if you're working or doing practices and also have homework, to be able to get to bed at a decent time. And again, this is why we want you to really think about the rigor of your coursework for next year. So at this point, all of the sections of our time wheel have been completed. And here's what we'd like you to do. First, add up your total number of hours. If there are more than 24 hours in your total, then you have miscalculated some of your math and the way that you're spending your time, because I hate to break it to you, but there's only 24 hours in a day. So somewhere there's something off. What I'd like you to talk about as a family is, do you have any sections of that time wheel that are out of balance or that need adjustment? Are you realizing, oh, geez, my media consumption is extremely out of proportion to my downtime and my family time. Maybe you need to make some shifts. Or maybe you're realizing, you know what, my extracurriculars and my work are taking way too much priority over my homework and my school, and I want to adjust that. Or maybe you're happy with the way that things are, and you're going to change your course selection so that you can keep doing what you've been doing. But the ultimate question is based on the recommended time allotments that we just covered for sleep, downtime, family time, etc. Can you handle the number of IB and AP courses that you have selected? Do you need to rethink the courses that you've signed up for? Or do you even think that you could maybe add another one? So there's not a right or a wrong answer here. These are completely personal questions, but it's important that you think about them. I love this quote right here. Balance is not something you find, it is something that you create. So hopefully, as a result of this presentation, you'll be able to create a really balanced academic schedule for you that fits within the needs of your lifestyle. All right, that's the end of this presentation. As I mentioned in the beginning, if you have any questions, concerns, if you want to make a change to your schedule, please email me or your guidance counselor, and we will be happy to help you out. I hope you all stay healthy. I hope you stay safe. I hope you stay sane. And remember that we are all in this together. Del Mar is a strong family, and we will get through this. All right, everybody. Thank you.